They just couldn't handle your charisma guy. I don't know what that means. But stepping on Legos. Great insult. Top tier. Okay, how would someone with a wheelchair follow choreography to have a change for everyone? Here's the thing with this one. Hopefully you'll be working with a team who is educated and invested in understanding what's going on and doing work with it correctly. A lot of my professional life last year led me to realizing it is, one, very important to do the work for yourself and make sure that you are always ready and defend yourself. You shouldn't have to, it's very sad, but... And I also learned to begin to interview people while you are being interviewed for a gig or a position or whatever it is. Ask them, okay, cool, so you realized to bring us into the story and have representation for disabilities in media and in theater, you know, whatever it is that you're making. That's great. What work have you done as a production company, as a business, whatever it is, to prepare and be adequately able to provide accessible services to me? I'm just saying. Because it was just... The first thing definitely is to like, oh, I love this song. This song is great. It's on my songs I listen to while planning my escape playlist. Still planning. Try and make sure that you're making it aware to the people that are trying to bring you on that there's more work to be done beyond bringing you on to the project. They have to make sure that they know how to take care of you and how to do this job. It helps to be as descriptive as you can about your experiences in whatever ways you are comfortable with sharing that. For me, it was a lot of physical demonstration. I would get up and where I didn't have appropriate vocabulary and from what I felt like to get it across to them what my accessibility needs were, I would stand up and show them my actual like range of motion with the body part and like why certain parts of a certain motion will hurt more than others. And so that would kind of encourage a conversation on like, okay, so sharp hitting choreography versus like a smooth landing, like what is the preference for the flavoring of the dancing for the show. But I think that there's a lot of elements of choreo that not a lot of people talk about, and I think that's a really good way to demonstrate that you are invested in all of the parts of the project that you're doing, and that you've done your research, and that you care, and that you are able to advocate for yourself. So really that's all I did, was just be incredibly honest about what I was capable of doing, what I was willing to do, my hard no's, right? No one else is allowed to sit in my mobility aids. That's for me. That's it. If you want it to be in the choreography that I'm going to make physical contact with somebody, that somebody's going to touch my mobility aid, I'm going to have a conversation with that actor beforehand and tell them the specific way their hand goes on the mobility aid. And if anything else outside of that happens, you know, we're going to have a conversation. And so it was a lot of boundary talk with people, which... interesting, you know, because we're also in this post-Me Too era of a hyper-awareness of touching people and how touchy-feely the role of a choreographer can be in theater. And so to have the added element, seeing that world coming out of that in these couple of years of lockdown and like going into choreography again as a professional and seeing the impact that Me Too had on like, can I touch you? And how disabilities have somehow been forgotten in that conversation and like trying to pull it in. Very fascinating, very tricky times. Best of luck to you. If it has to do with your professional life in any way, shape, or form. In each version of RTC, there have been things I liked more than in others. There's one exception to this. Your Ricky Potts is my absolute favorite of anything I've ever seen. Having a Ricky Potts who's actually disabled really brought the entire show to a whole other level. The version you star in has become my favorite for this reason. I really hope that justice is served, and thank you for your Ricky Potts. He's very dear to me. Wow! He's dear to me too, thanks. He's only dear to me because of everybody who's been kind and supportive through all of this. So thank you for making him the best Ricky ever, because that's really what did it. I didn't do anything, you know? I will say one thing. I've tried in some productions working with the notion of like, okay, we make choreography that would work if Jasper was on stage with me, and then we make choreography that would work if for some reason that day I feel like I can stand, or vice versa. We make choreography that's like, I'm supposed to be standing for this with my mobility aids, and if for some reason one day in the production I can't physically stand for that, we would then have a version of the choreography with the wheelchair. You sort of come to realize that you're double choreographing a show. And so really the best thing you can do at that point is make sure that choreo is something that is just like easily, the mobility aid shouldn't matter, and it shouldn't really impact the choreography that much. You know what I mean? To like give that much power to the mobility aid in that moment, we have to choreograph this a certain way for this mobility aid and a certain way for that mobility aid. It's like very othering to the person, and then it also puts a lot of pressure on you of like, I always have to make sure I can stand for this one because we haven't rehearsed the wheelchair one in like 3 weeks, and I know they're not going to remember it, and it's going to be half people doing standing choreo, half people doing Jasper choreo, and like that's just way too much of a mess for me and everybody. So ideally you just would see it as a situation with your choreographer where like the mobility aid doesn't impact how the choreography is choreographed, period. It shouldn't. You should be able to do all of it in any kind of mobility aid, and if you need help, then you need help, and then like we'll rally the troops and do something there, make some acting decisions. There are some things technically that are tricky. You get a specific number of counts to make a 360 turn, and for a person standing in two legs that doesn't have a hip issue, they have an easier time making that pivot. Me even standing and spinning, you know, is I have to make sure I keep on with everyone, and then it's a whole different story with Jasper because I'm a wider amount of space, and then the distance of my arms stretching. I then sort of kind of started to memorize like, okay, my arm has to go this far on the wheel so that when I start to pull it at the same beat as everybody else, by the time I get to the end, I'm exactly forward like everybody else was. It just comes down to your willingness to get down to the nitty-gritty details of your relationship with your mobility aid, and then how willing you are to share that information with your cast. How do you feel about people posting about Arena Stage, not supporting it or anything, just using photos from it for character posts? I'm not the president of what happens online. You know? Everybody deals with this stuff differently. We know that. If it's helpful to people to draw photographs, I'm not gonna, hold it against them. I wish they had an interest in drawing things that were less problematic. But somehow Trisha Paytas still has a job, so I feel kind of like in a beggars can't be choosers position. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just grateful we're talking about like ableism. It's really, really hard to. You see why it takes me forever to respond? These are just such niche. It's such a niche situation. It's really rough out here on these streets. Yeah, I gotta keep moving. I don't know. I'm wondering, are there any websites, charities, petitions, that ETC that help with ableism in theater or in general? I really want to help, but I don't know where to start. I don't know. I'm trying to work on some sort of a compilation of resources. I have been known to, in my career as a writer for nonprofits, write a bunch of resource pages for a bunch of different things. Trans people on the spectrum, or HIV vaccine awareness, or advocacy and youth homelessness, and that sort of stuff. You can find it on my website. And so I'm going to work on finding stuff and being a resource hub for that. If anybody has any organizations or anything they're aware of that deals with ableism in any workforce, let us know. Seriously, I would really, really appreciate it. Hi, your TikTok says you use he, they pronouns, but I wanted to ask on Tumblr what pronouns you use just to be sure. Yes. Interchangeably. Make this quick since I know you've been getting a lot of ass lately, but from one disabled person to another, I just wanted to say thanks for standing up and being genuine about talking about your experience in acting. I can't imagine how hard it was working with McCarter Theater. I'm lucky enough to be able to hide my disabilities. Had to do so to get my current job, not in acting. Fuck! And I guess I just wanted to say thanks for all of it. Hope you're doing better nowadays. Take care, dude. Shit. That's very nice of you. Thanks. When did you start acting? Oh, okay. So I moved around a lot. I was in a family situation that involved moving around a lot. And there was a point where I had to move to Germany. So when I was in middle school, I started singing in choir, and that's when I started how to read sheet music. And then I ended up moving to Germany, which it was just kind of every club I could find I joined because I wanted to have friends. I was in bowling. I hate bowling. I was very good at golf. Painting, pottery stuff. Drama club. And the first solo that I ever did on stage, I was wearing this pink boa, and I did Notice Me Horton from Seussical. Boy Genius is playing, hell yeah. And so I did that in the end of the summer drama camp showcase. I then auditioned for my community theater shows at the time and went on to play. This is the weird thing about being a trans person in theater, is that half of my resume is AFAB roles. The character who sings I Dreamed a Dream, I did that. I was 13, if I remember correctly, singing I Dreamed a Dream and using it for therapy, which is another thing. I started acting when I was 13. I was doing community theater and school theater stuff from 13 to, I graduated high school at 17, and then I went to Berklee College of Music and studied acting and songwriting and a bunch of shit there for a couple of years and did the theater there. And then, I had been acting in a lot of TV stuff and film stuff for a couple of years. And then lockdown happened. And so I took a break from stage acting that whole time and came back to it last year. I don't know how much this will come. I don't know how much this will mean coming from a stranger on the internet, but I'm sorry for what's happened to you. You didn't deserve that. And frankly, if you wanted to walk away from acting and never touch it again, that would be totally justified. And no one would blame you for it. Really glad you shared your story and you continue to find. This is part of a longer one. I'll keep to myself though. I don't know what's gonna happen, I still have agents. I switched my agents recently, and now I'm with people who are so understanding and compassionate to people with disabilities and who are willing to go to bat for you so you don't have to go to bat for yourself. So hopefully that'll be a really positive change for me this year. Maybe that'll be what convinces me to stay. I thought after Ride the Cyclone, I would never act in a stage show again. And then while I was in that show, my now good friend, BD Wong, he was asking me for callbacks to be in his show in the summer. And I did it. I honestly still don't know. We'll see. Listen. I've got a lot of other stuff going on. I am in the middle of writing a 21 song album of bangers. It's coming out in November. I am also working on a documentary that I'm releasing next month for Rare Disease Day. I think that's all I'm going to say on that for now. Very important question. Opinions on the Muppets. Okay. I hope you're not playing with me. I hope you're being serious, because I'm being serious. That was my dude for a really long time. I had to turn around and realize, kind of not cute. Not really a lot of consent there. You're just chasing women around. You know what I mean? Do something about that. But I like that he had hair like me. My hair I look like Zooey Deschanel right now. But I have like 3C hair-ish. So I liked Animal for that representation for me. I like that he was a rockin' drummer, banging, smashing drums. I had a purse, an Animal purse, that had this like belt with like painted chain on it. So it looked like you had like a chain across you. It was wild. I wore it for too long. I regret nothing. I wish I had it again. If any of you find where I haven't even looked for a link of it online. Probably will find it somewhere if I looked hard enough. Fuck Amazon though. The Muppets Take Manhattan. That movie. Not a lot of people talk about that movie. I mean, there's literally a song in there that's like, you can't take no for an answer. And for me, that was it's such a beautiful painting of like trying to make it in New York. That movie is great. It's just so good. I looked up to that movie as a kid. I think that movie is what prepped me for like running away to a random city that I had never been to and starting college and like building my resume on my own and like cold pitching myself to agents. Like I think the Muppets are the reason why I have my career. For real. I hope this question wasn't a joke. What do you think of the fandom collectively agreeing Ricky is trans? Let me tell you, I wasn't prepared for people making content about the fact that I'm happy to be rep. Ultimately, it's weird. I'm a dweeb. Y'all need better rep than this. I'm sorry that right now this is all we got, but I think it's cool. Okay, this person asked me a lot of questions. Out of the rest of the choir, Ricky is the only one who's 16, while the other ones are either 17 or 18. And he hasn't been 16 for long. He's only 16 and 3 months old at the time of his death, while other characters had upwards of a year more to live. So it's likely that Ricky would be in a class of others his age as sophomore or junior. But with how smart and connected to cosmology he is, shown in earlier ratings of the show, it's likely that he skipped a grade or two. Has proven himself to be rather intelligent for his age. So he transfers to St. Cassian in an already small private religious high school. Fair enough. Jesus. Ocean, leader of student council, straight A student, teacher's pet, she jumps on this opportunity and automatically notices a new kid. She's already very overly welcoming and a golden child to the new kids, offering to show them around and just in the nicest way possible, super extra. Ricky's more of a kind guy to keep to himself, so he kind of lightly tries to let Ocean down, but she just won't let him communicate that, and he doesn't want to be helped around stuff. With Ocean having some ableist tendencies unbeknownst to her, it's probably not helping, and she's probably babying him far more than she would a new nether kid. She's under the impression that he's underclassman due to his age. This is a well thought out theory. Holy shit. She just won't take the hint that he doesn't want to be treated weird because he's new. Ocean's that kind of senior who babies the underclassmen and pretends to love them and all of that, those seniors. She likes to make herself look good whether she knows it or not. After talking his ear off for several hours in a very unneeded tour of the campus, she asks if he wants to come with her to require practice. Ricky politely tries to tell her, no, she's probably gone. Choir master, say little choir students. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, vibes. So, I got you. Here's how I feel about this. Ricky totally is like a pushover in society sometimes. I just like don't. I see myself a lot in him. And so I'm speaking mostly from me, which is really weird. I'm not Ricky in real life, just so we're clear. I'm yannick-robin. But yeah, I don't necessarily feel like he's there because it's his favorite thing or it's his best way to spend time. Definitely wants to be out of the house as much as possible, which is like very sad if you think about it. A dope musician before and after death. He was aware of sound and good at it. I don't know that he was the most confident about sharing it with others. And so it was fun to imagine myself being Ricky and being in the choir and not talking, but wanting to talk, and not singing, but wanting to sing. And occasionally, like, uranium would kind of like come out of me if I wasn't careful. And so, yeah, I sort of imagine that it was a good exercise for him in like starting to use his voice again in public, but not obviously in a way where he wouldn't get caught for it. He could just like let out a little whisper of a melody and feel what it would be like to be loud and make a noise with his throat in front of others again. I think that's a really fascinating. I love the 1975. Yeah, that's all I got for that. I can't find the comment, but I know that somebody asked me, like, oh, ASL. I don't know how to classify myself right now medically because I don't have a proper diagnosis for what is causing the situation. But for quite some time now, I've had some trouble with hearing. And so I have navigated my life for a bit now as a a person who's hard of hearing. I'm on my way to learning sign. I have a lot more to do. It's not a joke. It's not funny. I want to know more than I do. I don't totally feel comfortable signing in front of my interpreter friends or my deaf friends because the sentence structuring for me is still something that I'm like subject, object, verb, those things. I know asking this could be stupid, but does the rest of the cast speak to you like ever, and what do you think about them now? Not a stupid question. Thank you for asking. In short, I have not been spoken to by anybody since I was not allowed to finish the run last year. Which is why I found it funny when people started talking as if they had insight. Okay, so this is what I would say. This is what I used to say to people, because I got this question a lot when I started talking about this in October, when they would ask me about the other actors and how they treated me during the situation. So this is what I used to say. I don't feel comfortable speaking on parts of this outside of the production team itself, because that's a battle we can objectively win and use to push progress forward sociologically and professionally when it comes to the physical safety of the professionals at hand. No one gains anything by hearing about if other parts of this machine were the same. It's even hard for me to gauge. All those people knew was a version of me in excruciating pain and oppressive circumstances. All I know of them is their reaction to that. I don't feel safe enough with all that happened to say things online because I don't want to get hurt again. But what I will say for now is that choosing to take on the arena role after having done McCarter, to now do it with Erasure. If you acted with me at the McCarter, you should know better than to do this. You should be smart enough to realize you're part of the problem, but maybe you're just worried about your coin. I just don't see how disability erasure on a resume is worth it. To each their own. I've gotten a lot of messages from student directors or directors of shows that are out right now, or people who want to put on RTC, or people who are in a version of RTC and they're like, this is crazy, what do I do? There's just been a lot of talk with the script changes. We're doing this in case there's not disabled people around or whatever. How come it doesn't sound absurd to you that people are saying that? Because If I said to you, hi, I made a script of, in case you wanted to have this story of segregation in your musical, but like not have any black people in it, like just in case your theater has only ever opened its doors to casting white actors, and you really want to put on Hairspray, like, we've made that possible for you. We took the black people out. You would laugh at me if I was trying to be serious doing that. Yet, nobody's laughing when they're saying, in case there's not any disabled actors around, we erased this disability. It's giving that meme of like corporates telling you to show the difference, and it's the same picture. So, that being said, don't put it on. Move on. Do something else with your life. Put your attention and your money and your energy as a performer, as an actor, as a director, as a whatever. New York is being New York, hold on. Put your energy into whatever it is that you're making, into making sure that you're involving art that is written with those people in mind to begin with. I think that's what we need to do. I think it's about time that we start really looking back at what we've done and take it as a lesson and not do it moving forward. And that even means for us disabled people of like, we now need to show them it's not enough to open up your ableist show and your ableist script to a disabled person to have them endure ableism like the character that they're playing while they're going through the show. That's not enough for us. Either you're showing me the receipts that you had consulting happen here with real accessibility stuff for TGNC people, for disabled people. You're showing me that the writers had a disabled consultant come in. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I want to start seeing. I'm open as a consultant. I have my rates. Let's put our energy there instead. Let's stop this cycle as much as we can.